on the solar coaster, come along for the ride, yeah. The solar coaster's rolling, it feels so right. Hop on the solar coaster, come along for the ride.
Aloha, my name is Anna Covert, and this is the Solar Coaster, the wild ride through the solar industry told by the people who are living it every day. In the hot seat with me today is Steve FEINBERG of Blue Water Battery. Steve, let's kick this off. When did the sun first shine on your solar path?
We started our business recycling batteries and doing battery deals, and we kept getting asked for solar panels. And after about the 15th time, I said, okay, I'm going to see what I can do. And people needed older panels to keep their systems going, and it went well. And then we did another, and now it's a good part of our business.
Yeah, what percentage of, I think it's really interesting when I learn more about what you do. You think about these large systems out there, and some of them are really coming up to term of life, right? They've been in market for 15, 20, even 30 years. You know, What percentage of systems out there, are, really using your services that they need these replacement parts and are having a hard time finding them?
I think the better answer to your question is everybody eventually will need our service, and rather than what percentage, because the system ages, people need to find equipment. So
So in part of, I think a lot of people out there are wondering, you're right now, maybe they're tipping their toe into commercial solar utility scale, but they're not thinking long term. They're not thinking about what the impact could be down the line. And I think a lot of people might believe that they're operating, their O&M plan or provider should be providing these types of replacement products. Tell me more about, maybe the myth and the reality in the marketplace.
well, the reality is that what happens is manufacturers do a production run, or they have a certain model, and their customers want them to have more power in their panels, because obviously it uses less space, they get more revenue and so forth. So that these farms are built, but the technology has moved past the farms. So they struggle after the farms are maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 years old to find panels that will fit. And that's where we come in. We find new surplus panels. We also find ways to rebuild or remanufacture existing panels. Some people buy used panels, and that way it keeps it going. My background is one. We did this in the computer industry. We did this in the telecom industry, and now I'm seeing the need for it in this industry.
It's really fascinating. And is it because, so like a lot of operators, especially in commercial or utility, they're looking at that, 5 to 7 year, and then the tax credits, the Mars accelerated depreciation, or they're converting the asset. And is this not something, or is this some type of, should people be asking for an insurance policy that would allow them to have a service like yours? Like what do people need to know now when they start to get a new system that they're gonna to be ahead of the game?
Surprisingly less than you would think. I like to always use analogies, or compare it to something else. Think of the auto industry when you first have your car and it's going good, and you need a fender because you got into somebody in there,
Vendor.
what they're gonna do, you whatever it is, and you have to pay full price from the factory. Well, 10 years goes by, and you can get it from the auto scrap yard for 20 cents on the dollar, and 25 years go by, and there's not that many of them left anymore because they've either been consumed or recycled into metal. And you still need to keep these farms going because it's very, very, very expensive to replace the panels. And I guess what I'm saying is somebody eventually replaces the panels, and then somebody picks them up and they either remanufacture them, or somebody has surplus equipment that they're holding on to, for maintenance on these things, and eventually the farm gets recycled, or they decide that they're not it's not cost effective to hold on to them anymore. They go out of business or something happens. And that's where we come in. We find them and find customers that need them, and it extends the life of their system dramatically. And it's a very, environmentally, it's a terrific business. I mean,
Absolutely.
it-
And how do you find these products? I mean, this seems like matchmaking, right? It's like a match, and almost like an app, like a dating app for equipment. I mean, how are you finding these companies?
well, dating apps are very successful. So, no, but seriously, actually, they are very successful. But that's besides the point. Um, how we do it? A little bit. It's a trade secret, but to be honest, it's just really hard work.
Wow.
Call, calling lots of people, going to lots of trade shows, meeting them, keeping a database of what people have, what people need, to making sure people keep in touch, with either calls or emails. And that's it. It's just really letting them know. And then after a while, people, when the time comes, they think of you and they call you. It's,
Relationship. I mean, I think even in, and I'm not doing what you do, but I've been through several bankruptcies with different providers, and I'll get calls from dealers like, "Oh, we have a warehouse full of panels, and I know someone else who wants them because I work with so many solar companies." And so it is. I understand that the relationship is really critical. And one thing that was really interesting when I learned more about what Blue Water did is I don't think people realize how difficult it can be to work in third world countries, or not even just third world countries, any other time when you cross a line of a border, and being able to swap out inventory or replace parts. Tell us about that process.
well, the interesting thing, you would think that most of these used panels go outside the United States, but surprisingly, a large percentage of them actually stay inside the United States for the surplus. Obviously, the tariffs are affecting things dramatically because, all of a sudden, if you can get panels for 10 cents a watt in China, you and you can see that the tariffs make them much more interesting here, or price, you know, price competitive here. Um, but transporting product overseas sometimes is very easy from some countries, and some countries is almost impossible. And we've been on both sides of the fence. We've had batteries that we brought in from Europe, and we found homes for, no problem. We've shipped stuff from Africa and moved it to India relatively easily. But we've had some third world countries that we've had some real. I shouldn't really call it third world. That's not correct. But we've had some countries that we've had some difficulty with, and it's that's
That's kind of part of your service, though. It's like an art form that you're able, kind of what you're able to do is really understand that and help them get the paperwork in place to be able to replace these products.
yeah. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. The things to watch out for, obviously, for certain, for shipping things, and but it also makes it an interesting business because that's a barrier. It's a
Sure.
definite, makes it harder for somebody to get into. And also the service we provide is finding equipment that is very, very difficult to locate. We are not the company that people should call for a new installation. We are the ones that are keeping their existing installation up and running. And partly, I think the important thing to know is that the service we provide saves a lot of expenses. Just think about it. If you're going to replace all the panels, now you have to do all the engineering. If it's a solar farm, you have to pull up all the racking. You have to lay all new wires, get all new inverters, all transfer everything. And so it's actually easier to start from scratch than it is to pull everything out, and the permitting, all of those things. So it's really a terrific service. And the even though it'd be nice to have a higher wattage panel there, the reality is those sites were built at a time, and they're producing the amount of electricity they were designed to produce, where they were going to be successful and profitable. Um, so there's no real need to date them. Now, eventually the day will come when there's no way to support it and it makes more sense to pull it out. But by doing that, potentially you've leapfrogged the technology. So instead of going from a 400-watt panel to a 600-watt panel, all of a sudden, I hear in the future it's going to be 1100 watts in a few years.
How big is it going to be? Like the size of a roof?
Nope. Different design, 1100 watt. They just made it. I read about it. So if you could imagine, all of a sudden, instead of doing it, and you're going to 600 or 700 watt panels, and you're able to extend the life a little bit, and you get the 1100 watt panels. That's a huge perk to be able to do it. So
Absolutely. So let's switch it a little bit for me. One thing that we're seeing in other industries is fraud, right? And I want to know, are you seeing that in your product array? Like here you are, you're looking for something very specific. Are there any companies out there fabricating this old inverter?
that is really a great question, and the answer I would tell you is it exists, but it exists if you're buying the product from China. But remember, most of our business is we're getting our product in the US. It's already been brought in. So that it's been it's been here for a few years. So likely if there was fraud, it would have been caught by now. But we haven't seen very much of it, but I do know it exists, and I know there's people that they copy Trina solar panels, they copy others, and they make they're really good at copying them. Then other than the serial numbers, you have no way to tell. And even those, they they know how to get the right serial number sequence. So it is hard, but we haven't seen it.
Interesting. So, every roller coaster has its ups and lows. What was one of your hands in the sky, like all-time highs so far in this industry that you want to share?
You know what? The high that I had was the first order for solar panels.
And what was it? What technology did you get?
Oh, we had a customer, they needed some 360-watt solar panels.
Oh, those are the Maxions. I got those. Those are good ones.
No, these actually, they were replacing, I don't remember what they were, but we gave them GCLs.
Oh, okay.
That worked perfect for them. We sold them, I think it was like 300 of them. And that worked out really good. And then actually it was kind of a unique transaction because we shipped those to Bermuda, then we picked them up, the defective ones, and we brought them back to the US for recycling. They also needed some Huawei inverters, and we eventually found those for them, and we brought the old ones back and recycled them. And then they bought more panels later, and then they bought more Huawei inverters later. And that's kind of how it goes.
Wow. What is the process for recycling? You've been in this game for a while. How much of the panel can we recycle, and what's it cost to recycle?
So it varies for the panels. Part of it is the transportation. Probably the biggest part of cost to recycle is actually just removing the panels from where they are and putting it on and transporting it somewhere. There's different regulations for the government. And see, for me, I look at recycling as you actually, what you do is you actually take that product and you turn it into something that's being reused, meaning the panel, you may grind it up and you may turn it in and
Sandals or something.
not sand,
Whatever. Well, yeah.
but use it for like sandblasting, or you throw it in to make cement, or some glass company buys it. That to me is real recycling.
Yeah.
But the other than one manufacturer, you're allowed to grind these things up and just throw them into a landfill. And our company doesn't do that. We tell people, you have your choice, but we're not going to, if that's what you want as landfill choice, we're not going to do it. We're going to, we find a home we find somebody that's going to actually find a reuse or a true recycling. And then you ask for what the cost is. It varies anywhere from, maybe $5 to $10 a panel, depending on what it is. Some are a little bit one manufacturer, because They have, they're made differently. They have, they're more expensive.
So I know there's a lot of fear going on in the market right now. We saw last year record number of large manufacturers going out of business. I mean, EPCs are going out of business. What do you think that means for your business? And are any of these services of yours, were they covered by manufacturers, or this is kind of after manufacturer warranty? That's when you would kick in, and doesn't really have anything to do with if they're still in business for you or not.
We're not affected by it that much because remember, our business is supporting what's out there.
Right.
If anything, it possibly helps us because we find alternatives for the people to keep their sites going. So I haven't, I haven't seen it too much of an effect yet. It could happen, but I haven't seen very much because it's, things keep getting older at the same rate. There was more stuff being put in as time went on. So if anything, our business has been doing better because
We do better. I was going to say, I would expect it to be on the way up.
supply and demand. What can I say?
Right.
I'm about to say it's Christmas, but it is, it doesn't have the same effect as, as somebody who has the tariffs or the government's pulled away subsidies or whatever. So,
Sure. So what advice would you give someone who's getting on the ride right now?
what advice would I give them? Um, don't get too high on the good and don't get too low on the bad, and just think of it as it's life. There's days you feel like you're on Mount Everest, and there's days you feel like you're in the Mariana Trench, and just that's how life is. So just know that's how this business is, and you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have good months, you're gonna have bad months, and just you know that's life too.
So you sold other things. You've done this for telecom, you've done it for computers, now you're in solar. What is your big mission? Why solar for you?
Well, it's probably good to say my background. I got started in computers uh, back in, I think it was 1984. We built the company up. We sold it for $35 million. Then I got into into telecom, and we actually took the company public. We grew it. It was doing over $200 million a year in business. It was we hit the perfect time because you had Y2K, you had the internet that was going on, and obviously cellular was just starting, so it was the perfect storm. So it worked out great. So I exited the industry for a little bit, and I came back to telecom, and my specialty was what they call private networks, which is utilities. And I saw how much many batteries that the utilities were putting in, and I did some research on it. I just said, this is where I want to go. This is the future. I've got skills that are going to fit this perfectly. They're going to need maintenance and so forth. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, you're definitely on the pulse. I like that. What about these data mines?
Huh?
What about data mines? I mean, have you been working in any of this AI? Have you used AI for any of your business? How do you think it's going to impact what we're doing? Can it make it easier to find products that you're looking for? Are you using it at all today?
You're going to laugh. Most people are going to not like when I say this, but people buy from people. They don't buy from machines, especially if they're trying to maintain stuff, because there's so many questions about it to match things up, and they need that hand holding. They need somebody to double check the work. They need somebody who's going to go in and get them the accurate pictures. They need somebody they can trust, and it's hard to trust a Google Assistant or who knows whatever.
Absolutely.
And so I mean, I think there's certain areas that will it could impact, but for right now, I think people really they value the fact that they can call us and they have a real person they can talk to. There's somebody who will listen to them. If we don't have what they need, we go out and we do the best we can to find it. If they have something for sale, we do the best we can to market it. And I just think people need that service.
Okay, do you offer any maintenance packages? So if someone right now, they might not need anything now, but they know that they have a facility that just came, it's been maybe 5 years old. Do you offer any type of like recurring service?
That's an excellent question. It's something that I've thought about. Either have an insurance policy on your parts, they break and we automatically replace it. And the answer is currently no. But it is something that we've thought about. And one thing is, if you don't want to oversell your business. And we're in a unique business. We may not have that part that they need down the road, and there's nothing worse than not being able to perform for somebody, or to have come and say, well, we signed you up for policy, where's your part? And we said, well, we estimated that you're going to need 200 of them, and you needed 2,000 of them. We didn't know you were going to get hit by a hailstorm, and we couldn't, so we don't offer it currently.
Makes sense.
It-
Yeah, I could see that. I could see what there's so many things to be,
I think I should tell one story about our business so you can understand how valuable it is to people. And this goes back to my telecom days. So, I'm going back a little bit, but you can pretty much do the same thing here. The Coast Guard needed a part for their communications system. Then the manufacturer had gone out of business. And so this part new went for $400, and they had, I don't know how many thousands of them in their system, but they needed spares because if they didn't have it, they had to replace parts of their system. So we actually reverse engineered and made that part for them, and we sold it to them. Originally it was $400. Now we sold it for $3,000. What I didn't know at the time was that part was worth $50,000, because that's what it would have cost them to replace each location. So that's the type of business that we're preventing people from having to spend all this other cash to have to to replace their infrastructure.
Yeah. I mean, it's the opportunity cost, right? I mean, like, what does it mean to not be able to replace that? And downtime, installation time, like you said, with permits and loss of business and being down. And one thing that I immediately, yeah, one thing I immediately thought of is a story that I had here with, and I'm not sure if you know a Midian, but a Midian is a company that does kind of O&M. You can pay per package, and they have O&M. And I had a client here in Hawaii, and they were just starting to use a Midian, and some of the stories we heard was shocking. Is that here a lot of large scale utility companies or commercial solar clients who aren't paying attention. They don't have that level of insight, right? For them, they have such a large system, maybe 3 panels are down. Well, when finance is looking at the bill, right, that it used to be this and now it's this, they don't notice that 3 panels are not online, right, or a suite's online. And so how their whole pitch was, how long is it going to take? 1% being not what you paid for can add up to be a significant amount of revenue.
It's not the cost of the part, it's the value of the part that's important in our business. What does that part represent?
Yep.
Does it, what is the value of it, the amount of, revenue come from just the sunlight from doing, or the replacement cost of it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, and how can they get a hold of Blue Water if they need you?
Not really. I usually tell a joke whenever I do one of these things. So I wanted to talk about, how you have a solar farm and you maintain it, and how you have sheep out there. I just think it's a bad idea. No, I actually think it's a terrific idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say great group. Sheep are great little pastures.
Should go bad.
But it's easy if one of the sheep is sick, then they shouldn't call you. They can replace their own sheep, right? You don't cover sheep.
Nope. 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 We're not the, yeah. No,
Sheep eats your inverter, then you can call Steve.
you could do that. Yes.
Yes.
Well, actually, we really like the idea of having dual purposes. It's good for everybody.
It really is. It's really a good decision. I have lots of in Minnesota. I've got a couple clients there, and ag is just taking off, and it's really special that they can cross over different industries like that.
Yeah, and as far as battery recycling, anybody who uses our company, one thing is we're never gonna have your batteries thrown in the ocean and that you'd get arrested for salt and battery. All right, you can edit all that out.
I like it. I like it. Well, thanks so much for being here today, Steve. And to all my listeners, please join me next week as I interview another industry expert. Thank you so much for all your support. We are already at over 11,000 subscribers, and that's because of you and your aloha. Continue to share these podcasts with your friends so I can get more great guests like Steve on to share their insights on how to ride this wild ride that we all love so much.
You got it. Other bad jokes too.
Aloha. See you next week in the Pixel.
Hop on the solar coaster, come along for the ride, yeah. Where the sunshine meets stories and bright futures collide.